Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Coulson, brand new tier 3 seasonal uniform. I know what you're probably thinking, Alex, there's no way I'm paying 1,800 crystals for a guy that's holding a candy cane gun. Well, that's a very big candy cane gun indeed. So you might want to second guess this one. Now, my normal advice to you would just be no. You should just tier 3 Phil Coulson, skip the uniform, and just stay with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because, hey, he's still got the tier 2 passive. You know, it all just works, right? And you can just take him into content as a support. However, like Rogue's build, I made one very big mistake when I was reviewing the character initially, aka the patch notes. If you take a look at the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. uniform, or just if you take a look at regular, massive forehead Phil Coulson, you'll see that the Director's Orders passive, which is the core of his build here, is applying to superhero allies. So it only applies to heroes with guaranteed crit, increased damage to villains, and then decreased damage from villains. Now we know the guaranteed crit stays at 20%, and then we know with the new uniform that 45 goes up to 50, and the 15 goes up to 20. So you're thinking, yeah, that's not really that good, Alex. Is it worth almost 2,000 crystals? No, I'm just going to skip it. But again, I made one big mistake, and I apologize for this one. This applies to superheroes. The new uniform applies to, you guessed it, all allies. So in the previous video for Rogue, did I say Storm? When I said that, you know, oh, you can maybe use it with Doctor Strange for ABX and maybe he'll be able to overtake Magneto. You don't need to do that. Just use it with Magneto. Just make the best even better. It's literally that simple. So that's really where we're at with Phil Coulson, and that does increase his value, in my opinion, quite a bit, because there are a lot more allies now that you can buff. A lot more allies, and there's a lot of villains that could use that guaranteed crit rate. That's very, very nice. If you think about a lot of villains that you're using with rage CTPs that don't necessarily have consistent damage because they don't have access to things like guaranteed crit rate, well, now they do have access to things like guaranteed crit rate because of someone like Phil Coulson. Now, taking a look at his availability for World Boss Legend as a blast male hero human with the command tag, he's actually not available for that many stages, especially since his other ability tag, Agent, isn't actually featured at all. And surprisingly, he doesn't have leadership. If we take a look here, he's actually available for 18 different stages of groups of 5, which puts him around the realm of Doctor Strange. If you're wondering, Doctor Strange is available for one more because he has the magic tag, I believe, or maybe energy projection or something like that. So it sort of balances out. You can see they're very similar: 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 0 for Doctor Strange, and then 4, 5, 3, 3, 2, 1 for Phil Coulson. So much of his value is contained in the first 4 bosses. I would say if you're pushing Jean and Kang, you have less reason to build Coulson there. But in particular for the command stages, we have very few supports. And if you actually go ahead and filter by command, you'll see that it's very, very slim pickings, especially if you're not using an elemental damage character. If using an elemental damage character, you can tap into Storm support, but that is a giga paywall. But then that's basically it, because even with Medusa being command, that's great. That works for Inhumans. Guess what? There are no other Inhumans that have command, so it actually doesn't really matter. We do have a bunch of other like strong command characters like Hela, Black Panther, Odin, Star-Lord, but really the only support, which is crazy, for command characters is Cyclops. So this is a massive, massive upgrade for the command stages, and there's actually quite a few command stages in the game for World Boss Legend. Phil Coulson represents an insane upgrade there. But beyond World Boss Legend, which is what I failed to highlight in the other video, in the patch note breakdown, is that if you can switch this from Blast Villain and you switch this over to Blast Male, here is where things start to really cook, right? Because the best team for the time being was basically this right here. And then you would basically just sub in someone like that if you have an insight on them, or you would do something like that. And that's actually pretty strong, don't get me wrong, if you have the seasonal uniform for Mysterio. So many seasonals now. But now what you can do, right, you can drop, I mean, you would probably just do this, right? You need the 5% extra attack, so you wouldn't even put Cyclops in the lead. But now you can drop Cyclops entirely and bring in Phil Coulson. Now, this is not the best run with Magneto, and admittedly there is some RNG, but we are using you know, Thanos Striker instead of Ghost Rider, which I know some people in the comments will get on me about it not being the best score. This is just who I had equipped. It doesn't really matter about getting the absolute highest score. What matters is showing how much more just changing to Coulson adds. So we're going to keep the Thanos Striker. 15.5 million is the score to beat. Now let's see what Coulson adds. Here we go at the final cancel, and we're already above 14 million. I think this is going to be an easy clear here above 15.5, even with our Thanos striker here. Cruising up here to 15 million. Very nice. All right. 15, there we go, 15.5, and we still have one more rotation to go here. So not as much score as I think I would have wanted to add, but I would think at this level, adding almost 500,000 points is really good. And again, there's RNG with Magneto's run, so you could run this again and get like 16.5. I honestly think he adds way more than 500,000, but this might not be impressive for some people. But I think 500,000 can be a big deal to players who are, close to the cap. And certainly with a better run, I could probably hit the cap at this point, because I was fairly close with Ghost Rider hitting like 17, 17.5. So I think this basically seals the deal for me now, being able to hit, hit the cap, which is quite nice that Coulson can do that. But then he also adds a lot to World Boss Legend. Okay, but what about for heroes? What can Coulson do for heroes? Well, this is stage 44 of Jean Grey, and previously, this was the best team here for Doctor Strange, or if you want Iron Man, if you want Cable, if you want Professor X, there's a lot of characters you can swap in here. Hell, you can even swap in Storm or Sharon Rogers. But for this showcase, I'm going to do Doctor Strange, okay? Great character. Should have gotten a bit more buffed when he was released. But previously, this is the best team. Despite all these supports here, this is the best team. Unless you're going to switch to a mutant, then you can use Polaris, of course. But otherwise, for all of the non-mutants that we highlighted, like Sharon and Iron Man and Doctor Strange, this is the best team, which is crazy. I mean, you can go for a little bit less defense and a little bit more attack, but that's basically the best that it gets. Now, right, you can go for something like this. This is going to be crazy. I think I usually clear this, I don't know, a minute and change, a minute and a half left. Let's take a look here. Ooh, okay, nearly 6 bars on the initial blast. Very nice. We're gonna V-pad away. I really like playing Doctor Strange, despite the fact that he didn't get the buffs that I was kind of hoping he would get. He does have the one buff that you kind of can't get, normally, which is actually being fun to play. Some characters unfortunately never get that rework, and it shows. And it shows. Okay, we're gonna blast around, V-pad around. Oh, I got time frozen. Wow. Doctor Strange getting time frozen feels so wrong. Like, so wrong. Ooh, okay, nice. So 55 seconds there. That was really good. We also managed to dodge the explosion. We are 1 bar up. Like, her bar is 1 stage further than it should be, because I did get hit. That one bullshit attack where I got time frozen. That was kind of cringe. But hey, it is what it is. Pop the Awakening. Pop the V-pad. Okay, very nice. 26 bars. I have to do a little shimmy here. Okay, rip it and run, baby. Rip it and run. Juicy fruity. Okay. She's gonna dash. Alright. I'm gonna pop one more big damage burst before she interrupts us. Pop the tier 3 just for fun. And there's the interruption. Okay. We're also way tankier. Over 160,000 HP. This is something I do want to mention. It can be a little bit annoying. So Coulson's tier 2 passive now applies to everybody, which is great because he gives the buffs to villains, right? Those tier 2 buffs, the director's orders buffs with the increased damage to villains and the damage reduction from villains and the guaranteed crit rate. But he doesn't apply his uniform passive, which is the healing, the flat damage reduction. Sorry, not the healing. The flat damage reduction and the 30% HP. That only applies to heroes. So that is applying to Doctor Strange here, which is cool, which is all well and good. But that part of his kit won't apply to Magneto, which is kind of cringe. We do have Eye from Ignore right now, so let's go ahead and take advantage of it. Let's also take advantage of the co-op here to dodge these explosions. Okay. So we're going to do that. We're going to wait for the 5th skill to come back. Unload here. Oh, she's doing that bullshit attack. Hate this one, but we tanked it. Nice. I thank Coulson for that. I thank Coulson for tanking it. Okay, we're gonna pop the tier 3. Positioning is so important with Doctor Strange. I mean, it's a support showcase, so you don't really play with a support character. Am I right, boys? Am I right or am I right? And this baby is Jover. Okay, that took so long at the end there. So just under 2 minutes to go. Just under 2 minutes left on stage 44. I think that's really nice. That's way faster than we used to do it. I think I quoted you guys 2 minutes left on stage 40. So we went up 4 stages because I usually just do the easier of the stages when I'm just doing my regular grinding here. But yeah, I can definitely feel the difference for Coulson. So it's kind of tough. In the review, I kind of want to say you should get this uniform. We don't have that many more like giga tier supports to go. So unless new characters or get uniforms or existing characters get bumped into being supports like Angela, you're looking at one of the last great supports. I mean, of course, there's still Dazzler specifically for mutants. And there's a couple like lesser supports like Warwolf and Red She-Hulk. But yeah, if you take a look at who's left, like obviously you have, yeah, for villains, of course, Black Cat would be amazing. And then, yeah, maybe Nova could get the juice, but even Nova doesn't compare to, doesn't compare at all to Coulson, right? Ignore dodge and some damage increase. Doesn't compare at all. So yeah, I would say Coulson is about as valuable as Mysterio. That's where I would put him. I think upon further inspection, I was telling people like, nah, just tier 3 him, skip the uniform. I think upon further consideration, I'd put him around the value of Mysterio. I think he's about as valuable as Mysterio. A little bit less value for specific content, but more general value and more value overall because he has just more buffs. Like Mysterio only has 2 buffs. This dude's got 6 buffs, right? He's got damage increase to villains, damage decrease from villains, guaranteed crit rate, and then he's got the HP and the damage rate. Okay, so 5 buffs. He's got 5 buffs instead of 6. Okay, but whatever. And that's not even covering his hilarious skill animations, all right? If you want to see that in a separate video where I actually try to do damage with Coulson, we can do like a meme tier video. But I wanted to first approach him from like a value perspective and show you guys different content and show you guys what he can do, just so you can get a grip on, you know, where you would plug him into your roster, where you would plug him into specific content, and how that would improve your scores, improve your clears, help you clear content. There's also always the ever-present threat of Null. I know some people are still on Null. I know I cover a lot of the like more difficult World Boss Legends, but especially when you're initially climbing World Boss Legend, I talked about this a lot, but male heroes don't have a lot of support. Coulson represents one of the first real, like basically besides Fury, the first like amazing, you know, the second amazing support for males. So if you look here on Null, from 10 to 14, it's males. So you can use Coulson, you can use Fury, whatever. And then here it's humans. So again, you can use Coulson, right? Because here, male takes away Valkyrie, White Fox, right? All of those crazy buffs because they're female. And then here, it still takes away Valkyrie, Sif, all of these non-human buffs, right? But then you get up to 20 and it's like, oops, now it's hero male. So again, all those female buffs go away, right? So, and because it's hero, you can't use Taskmaster. So for the longest time, there's basically no supports here. Before Fury and Coulson, there's nobody, bro. There's a lot of damage dealers, but there's no supports. Or there's very niche supports, like I can use Groot for Star-Lord or some shit like that, right? But now we got Coulson at the wazoo juicing these boys. Shit's crazy, right? Shit is crazy. So yeah, I did want to highlight that as well. Again, not the most important thing if you're past Null, but for those of you still climbing with very low Pierce, he represents one of the best supports. And I would say maybe better than Nick Fury. Maybe, I don't know. Especially because Nick Fury's uniform is always around. Anyways, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of Coulson. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.